Tofu. Besides soybeans, there are a few soybean products that are even more useful for regular consumption and for promoting good health. Such products include bean curd tofu, bean drink, and soybean oil. Tofu has been a very popular food among the Chinese people from time immemorial. It is believed that the manufacturing of tofu in China dates back to over 2,000 years ago. The Chinese take great pride in this and regard it as a great invention in Chinese history. Tofu, which is now a staple of the modern health food store, was not available in North America 2 decades ago. To make tofu from soybeans, the first step is to soak the soybeans for about 1 day, but less time in the summer, and then grind them into a powder. Next, you add water to the powder and bring it to a boil, and it will become bean drink. Add some coagulants to separate the beans from the water, and this will give you tofu flours. When the tofu flours are squeezed in shape, they become tofu. Tofu can be processed to become a variety of soybean products, such as dried, sliced, and noodle tofu. The coagulant used in manufacturing tofu is mostly gypsum, which is a very common mineral containing hydrated calcium sulfate, and that is what makes tofu a calcium-rich food. From the point of view of Chinese medicine, tofu has 3 basic functions. First, it can increase body energy to make the body stronger. Second, it can produce fluids and lubricate the system. And third, it can cool down the body, which is beneficial to many types of skin diseases. In addition, tofu may be boiled with vinegar to be eaten as soup for relief of periodic diarrhea. Tofu is also good for many hot diseases, including fever, the common cold, inflammations, and urination difficulties. Bean drink. Bean drink is another important soybean product that is very popular in China, as popular as milk is in the West, often referred to as soybean milk. Bean drink is widely used by Chinese people at breakfast, the same way many Western people drink milk every morning. One important advantage of bean drink over milk is that it can be consumed by everyone, adults and children, healthy people and patients. Whereas many people have an intolerance to milk, the quantity of protein in bean drink is about the same as that in milk, but the quality of the protein is slightly lower. Bean drink contains less fat than milk, but more unsaturated fatty acids. Moreover, 250 grams of milk contains 33 milligrams of cholesterol, but bean drink has none. Milk has more vitamins than bean drink, and in terms of minerals, milk contains more calcium, but bean drink contains more iron. Normally, a health-conscious Chinese family will mix bean drink with eggs or milk to supplement missing nutrients. However, bean drink is very cool and sliding, which is why it's not recommended for those with gastroduodenal ulcers, chronic enteritis, inflammation of the intestines, and chronic diarrhea. Soybean sprouts. If you immerse soybeans in water and maintain an adequate temperature, the soybeans will absorb the water and gradually germinate. Then within 4 to 5 days, they will become soybean sprouts that are ready to eat as a vegetable. Soybean sprouts retain all the nutrients of soybeans, only to a lesser degree, but every 100 grams of soybean sprouts contains 5 milligrams of vitamin C, which is not present in soybeans. And soybean sprouts are also rich in fiber. Therefore, the Chinese make it a point to consume soybean sprouts in winter as their source of vitamin C, when most other vegetables are not available. Moreover, soybean sprouts can be produced indoors, making them useful to seamen and to those living in cold climates, since it may be difficult for them to grow other vegetables as a source of vitamin C. Traditionally, soybean sprouts are used to cleanse toxins in the lungs and to suppress the production of sputum in the body. When patients cough with plenty of mucus discharge that appears yellowish and sticky, a Chinese physician will advise them to boil 4 or 5 pounds of soybean sprouts in abundant water over high heat for 4 to 5 hours, and then to eat the soup and sprouts, which should relieve the symptoms quickly and effectively. In fact, soybean sprouts are considered good for any symptoms classified as hot and dry, such as dry lips, cracked mouth, cankers, sore throat, pain in the chest and ribs, and urination difficulties. Soybean sprouts are an excellent diuretic and can be used to correct various urination disorders, such as pain or burning sensations during urination and difficulty in passing urine. Chinese yams, sweet potatoes, and unpolished grains for yin fluids to protect the body. Yin and yang are the two complementary principles of Chinese philosophy. Yin is negative, dark, and feminine. Yang is positive, bright, and masculine. The interaction of these principles is thought to maintain the harmony of the universe. The theory of yin and yang is also fundamental to traditional Chinese medicine. Chinese yams and sweet potatoes are the primary sources of sticky fluids for the body, and such sticky fluids are the most precious yin energy in the body. According to traditional Chinese medicine, when the body lacks yin energy, it is called yin deficiency, which can cause a wide range of symptoms and diseases. Yin deficiency has been known to particularly cause consumptive diseases like tuberculosis, but it also causes other disorders such as hyperthyroidism, insomnia, fatigue, excessive perspiration, night sweat, and constipation. In short, diseases characterized by weight loss and loss of strength are most likely due to yin deficiency. So patients with such diseases should consume more foods that can increase yin energy in the body. Take hyperthyroidism as an example. It is a condition due to excessive secretion of the thyroid gland. Patients with hyperthyroidism may increase their consumption of food but still keep losing energy and weight. How do we account for this phenomenon? Normally, when people eat more food, they put on weight and increase their energy proportionally, but what happens to patients with hyperthyroidism seems to run counter to this general rule. The fundamental reason is that there's a shortage of yin energy in their body that creates an imbalance between their yin and yang energies. Yin energy nourishes the body to save its energy, whereas yang energy uses the body and spends its energy. Therefore, when yin energy is in short supply, yang energy will be in excess, causing these patients to keep losing energy and body weight while consuming nutritious foods in great amounts. Some doctors tend to treat hyperthyroidism with large doses of iodine, but according to the Shanghai College of Chinese Medicine, large doses of iodine will not do the job because iodine can merely inhibit the release of thyroxine, a principal thyroid hormone, but not inhibit its synthesis. A time-honored Chinese herbal formula that has proven very effective in the treatment of hyperthyroidism contains two categories of ingredients: iodine-rich foods such as kelp and seaweed, and foods and herbs rich in yin fluids. Unlike water that flows quickly, yin energy consists of glutinous and sticky fluids that circulate throughout the body very slowly to perform a number of important functions. Many parts of the body are covered with mucous membranes full of glutinous fluids, from the mouth to the esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine, rectum, and anus, which is the digestive tract, and from the nose to the throat, trachea, and bronchi, which belong to the respiratory system. Such glutinous fluids serve to protect different parts of the body from infections by lubricating them constantly. The way oil lubricates an automobile engine, if we compare the human body to an automobile, then yang energy can be compared to gas, which runs out quickly, and yin energy to oil, which lubricates different parts of the automobile slowly. Just as gas is consumed quickly in an automobile, so is yang energy in the body, and just as oil is consumed slowly, so is yin energy in the body. When the glutinous fluids are in short supply, the parts of the body affected will become more susceptible to infection, inflammation, and cancer. No other foods seem to be able to supply the body with glutinous fluids as effectively as Chinese yams, sweet potatoes, and unpolished grains. Glutinous fluids also serve to retain the elasticity of the walls of blood vessels, lubricate the joints and cavities, prevent the atrophic degeneration of the connective tissues in the liver and kidneys, and resist the attack of diseases related to a shortage of glutinous fluids. When an automobile runs out of oil, its engine will heat up, and this is precisely what happens in the body. When people keep drinking water and still feel thirsty, as many diabetics do, it is because the energy in their lungs is inadequate. Consumption of water in great quantities will not help. However, because the water will be consumed by excessive heat in their lungs, Likewise, when people keep eating and still feel hungry, as many diabetics do, it is because of a lack of energy in their stomach. And consuming food in large quantities will not help because the food will be digested by the excessive heat in their stomach. What is needed is glutinous foods to be supplied by appropriate foods such as Chinese yams, sweet potatoes, and unpolished grains. Dr. T. Kawabara of Tokyo University of Dentistry has pointed out from an anatomical point of view, glutinous fluids are an important ingredient in the functions of pleural and articular cavities, the tendon sheath, the ligaments, the bones, and the spinal discs. The body will break down as soon as glutinous fluids run out in those regions. Just imagine the parts of an automobile that will be affected if it runs out of oil. However, keep in mind that glutinous fluids do not refer to fats in the body. Although fats form an integral part of the cell membrane, they do not circulate to lubricate various parts of the body as glutinous fluids do. A Japanese weightlifting champion at the Olympic Games was said to consume 500 grams of salad and great amounts of soybeans and Chinese yams and sweet potatoes on a daily basis. Small wonder that he became a champion, even though he was only 155 centimeters, 5 feet in height, and 60 kilograms, 132 pounds in weight. A Japanese researcher on longevity lamented, since the Japanese people have changed their traditional eating habits rapidly in favor of Western lifestyles, and since the Japanese children have rushed to gobble up milk, cheese, meats, and eggs instead of eating traditional Japanese foods, many longevity villages in the past have gradually turned into villages of short-lived people. Chinese yam. The Chinese yam is traditionally used both as an herb and a food, and mainly serves to increase yin energy in the body. 4 internal organs can benefit most from the Chinese yam: the lungs, spleen, pancreas, and kidneys. That is why the Chinese yam is very frequently used to treat pulmonary tuberculosis, fatigue, and diseases associated with the spleen and pancreas and the kidneys. A number of disorders, including diarrhea, premature ejaculation, and diabetes, are normally treated by the Chinese yam with good results. Why are yams capable of stopping diarrhea? The reason is that yin energy moves slowly, and diarrhea means quick bowel movements that should be slowed down, and the yams, which are full of yin energy, can best do the job of slowing down bowel movements. The same reasoning holds true for premature ejaculation, which means quick movements of the seminal fluids. The male urethra, and yams can slow them down due to their yin energy. There are different ways of cooking the Chinese yam. For chronic diarrhea, take 60 grams of yam and grind them into a fine powder. Add 1 glass of glutinous rice powder and mix thoroughly. Add 4 teaspoons of white sugar to the powder, form into balls, and boil in water until they become very sticky. Eat at breakfast regularly to heal chronic cough and asthma, particularly with mucus discharge. Crush 100 grams of fresh yam and mix with a glass of sugarcane juice. Warm it up over a low heat and drink in 2 dosages in 1 day. Perhaps the most important function of the yam in traditional Chinese medicine is to treat diabetes by boiling 120 grams of yam and water for daily consumption. Or alternatively, yams can also be mixed with other foods to make a dish, or other herbs to make an herbal formula. A Chinese chemist named Wu Yunchu, who started the monosodium glutamate manufacturing plant in Shanghai, was said to have suffered for many years from diabetes mellitus, a disorder of carbohydrate metabolism due to a shortage of insulin, according to Western medicine. But due to urine deficiency of the kidneys, according to Chinese medicine, and to have been treated by insulin injections without success. Subsequently, a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine gave him an herbal formula that contained 2 herbal ingredients, one of which was the Chinese yam. Being a chemist, Wu Yunchu took the 2 ingredients separately without mixing them. The first ingredient did not produce any change in his urine after 1 week of consumption. He then moved on to the second ingredient, which was the Chinese yam. After taking it for a while, he tested his urine and found that the sugar in it had been reduced considerably. He subsequently found that he had completely recovered from diabetes simply by taking the Chinese yam. The following is the food value of 100 grams of the Chinese yam. Protein 1.9 grams, fat 0.1 grams, carbohydrates 19.9 grams, calories 88, fiber 0.4 grams, calcium 44 milligrams, phosphorus 50 milligrams, and iron 1.1 milligrams. Sweet potatoes. According to a Chinese book, seamen often enjoyed longevity because they eat no other grains except sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes are particularly good for the spleen, pancreas, and kidneys, and they are often used to treat chronic constipation, jaundice, and diarrhea with blood in the stools. It may seem strange that the same food can be used to treat both constipation and diarrhea, which are two opposing symptoms. However, sweet potatoes can treat constipation because they are full of yin energy, which can lubricate the intestine, and when the intestine is lubricated, bowel movements will occur. Sweet potatoes are particularly good for constipation due to the dryness of the large intestine. Sweet potatoes and the Chinese yam are effective for diarrhea for the same reason. In traditional Chinese medicine, many herbs are equally good for two seemingly opposing symptoms. For example, one herb may be good for hypertension and hypotension at the same time. This is because herbs are used to regulate the conditions of the body, and to regulate means to raise something that is too low and to lower something that is too high. Sweet potatoes contain plenty of carotene, which is the precursor of vitamin A. Carotene is stored in the liver where it is converted to vitamin A. That is why sweet potatoes are good for night blindness, which can also be treated by tender sweet potato leaves. You boil 60 to 90 grams of the leaves in water with 120 grams of sheep liver to be consumed for 2 to 3 days in a row as a course of treatment. Sweet potato leaves are said to contain an ingredient resembling insulin, and when this ingredient is injected, it is twice as effective as an oral administration. As a remedy to get rid of blood in the stools, sweet potato leaves can be boiled in water, strained, and then mixed with honey. As a remedy for diabetes and jaundice, boil some sweet potato leaves in water and then add seasoning. And for relieving constipation, fry 250 grams of sweet potato leaves with oil and salt and consume one dosage each day. Unpolished grains. There is a Chinese story about a little girl who was sold to another family to become the future wife of the sons, which was a common practice in China before the 18th century. Unfortunately, as it turned out, none of the family members liked her, so at mealtimes they all ate refined grains except this little girl, who was only allowed to eat unpolished grains. Not long afterwards, all the members of the family had suffered vitamin B deficiency diseases such as diarrhea, stomatitis, and indigestion, except this little girl. This is a simple story that illustrates how unpolished grains are more nutritious than refined ones. In 1886, a Dutch physiologist named Christian Ejekman had observed many prisoners in Indonesian jails developing beriberi, a disease characterized by pain and swelling of the limbs, due to a regular and high intake of refined rice. Subsequently, he discovered that beriberi and multiple neuritis are caused by a deficiency of vitamin B1 and was awarded a Nobel Prize for the discovery. From that time on, nutritionists have attached great importance to eating unpolished grains as an important source of vitamin B. Traditionally, the Chinese eat unpolished grains as yin tonics to treat yin deficiency in the body. Yin tonics are effective for the treatment of such symptoms as excessive perspiration, night sweats, diarrhea, diabetes, and other disorders due to yin deficiency. According to a story that has circulated widely among the Chinese during the Second World War, the Chinese communist soldiers demonstrated great strength when they were waging guerrilla warfare against the Japanese. But after they had marched to the big cities to celebrate their victories over the Japanese, they began to weaken considerably. This was subsequently attributed to the fact that the soldiers were hiding in the mountains to fight against the Japanese. They had virtually nothing else to eat except unpolished grains. But as soon as they came down to the big cities from the mountains, they began to enjoy the luxury of refined grains and consequently lost much of their strength. However, the food value of unpolished grains is now regarded as beyond that of vitamin B because of the recent discovery that many other disorders can be treated by the consumption of unpolished grains. For example, unpolished grains are fiber-rich foods, which are found to reduce the risk of cancer of the colon. Many scientists have found that those who do not consume fiber-rich foods are many times more susceptible to cancer of the colon than those who regularly consume them. The scientists reasoned that a deficiency of fiber will slow down the passage of foods in the intestines and cause chronic constipation, which in turn will produce a toxin that can cause colon cancer. Therefore, a regular consumption of unpolished grains will improve elimination and reduce the chances of developing colon cancer. Unpolished grains are also good for diabetes and high blood pressure. According to modern research, for example, in a study conducted in China between 1961 and 1962, it was found that among 13 diabetics treated with wheat bran, their blood sugar was significantly reduced in all cases, and any symptoms of neuritis associated with diabetes were gone. In an experiment reported in a Chinese medical journal in 1974, lab animals were given wheat bran and other unpolished grains to make certain that their diet contained sufficient fiber. It was found that the cholesterol level in these animals was lowered considerably in spite of the fact that they were also on a fat-rich diet during the experiment. There is now general agreement among Chinese scientists that a high intake of unpolished grains will not only improve elimination, which is important in the prevention of colon cancer, but can also reduce the cholesterol level, which is important in preventing heart disease. A Chinese researcher has listed a number of fiber deficiency diseases to run parallel with so-called vitamin deficiency diseases. Besides chronic constipation and heart disease, fiber deficiency diseases include diabetes, varicose veins, hemorrhoids, colon cancer, and intestinal oversensitivity syndrome.